a lot of people see as a negative or they feel held back if you do find yourself in a small town. We're going to dive in and really overcome a lot of those misconceptions today.
Limiting beliefs.
Somebody's got to make the first splash.
Really think big and set goals that are outside of your current understanding. You got to put something on the horizon and work towards it.
It's just like, let's just get down to the center of the flower. What is the actual problem?
Welcome to the Seven Figure Salon podcast with Rachel and Drew. I'm Drew.
I'm Rachel.
Welcome to the show. Let's get into it. I sound super weird today. I'm pretty scratchy.
Yeah, COVID made its way through our home a couple weeks ago, and
then something else.
Yeah, and then now I think it
this
might be.
COVID.
It's not COVID. It's probably flu or something. I think actually one of our friends, Lexi, she's our photographer. She posted, she's like, if you didn't get sick in the month of January, like you should be studied because it's like, how on earth can you like make it through December, January without actually getting sick? So anyway,
yeah.
But I'm feeling better.
I feel good. I just sound weird.
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
You sound like you're going through puberty.
Pardon my scratchy voice today. I kind of like it. I kind of sound cool. Like he's like
mysterious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today we thought it would be a great episode to bring to you guys, talking specifically about small town salons because, we talk to a lot of people. And we have got clients across the entire country. We've got clients in Canada. We have some clients even on the islands, and it's something that a lot of people see as a negative or they feel held back if you do find yourself in a small town. And, small town, big town, we're gonna dive in and really overcome a lot of those misconceptions today.
Limiting beliefs.
Yeah, limiting beliefs. But the thing that I wanted to kind of explain first, which I think would be the most relatable, is to talk about Waco, Texas, and when, most people, if you have a TV, you probably, know who Chip and Joanna Gaines are. And they are this amazing power couple who've got a bunch of kiddos, and they, had a really big run on TV a few years back. And since then have spun off and done, different partnerships with Target and different, painting companies and things like that. But they've created an amazing thing in Waco, Texas. And so you've taken this teeny tiny town that is, more commonly known for Baylor, like a small college town. And they have really like I would say they have basically built that town. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that they are solely responsible for millions upon millions of dollars of Airbnbs and travel and tourism and all kinds of stuff coming into their town. And they've done a really great job of taking a very small mom and pop town and modernizing it to allow it to become super cool without losing that charm and that character that the town originally had. So, if you're a small town salon owner, it's important to know that, there is a lot of opportunity in your town, in your zip code. And, a lot of times clients, if they live in a small town, they feel like they have to travel to a big town in order to shop, in order to get their hair done, in order to buy a car, in order to get a nice meal. So, I think if you guys can view that as opportunity, that will allow you to see that, you actually are at an advantage. You do not have to, if you yourself also as a small business owner are traveling out of your own zip code to go do all these things, remember, you're a consumer too. So, and if you're looking over the fence and you're looking to your left and your right and you're realizing that nobody is in your town is making that move to create that thing that doesn't already exist, somebody's got to make the first splash.
It's you.
Yeah, and it very well could be you. And I think that there's a huge opportunity when you're in a small town to really make an even larger splash doing the same move, the same play that maybe I might do in my community is not going to be as big of a splash here as it might be for you in your town. So I absolutely love small towns. I think there's a huge advantage. I definitely think on calls when we talk to people that is the main thing standing in the way of them feeling like they can actually be very, very successful.
Yeah, and I've spoken to thousands of salon owners personally, all over the country, small towns, big towns, and there is just a limiting belief with the small town business owner. They kind of have small goals, small mindset. Really, really think big and set goals that are outside of your current understanding on how to do it. One of our goals, we are not there yet, but we would love to have a plane in the next couple years and be doing deals and traveling and acquiring companies and doing real estate and doing stuff. We're not there yet, but we have to set the bar as to where we're going. You got to put something on the horizon and work towards it. When you put things on the horizon, things get exciting. If you're bored and stagnant, book a trip, do something, put something up. And the common misconception I see oftentimes is just their ability to be able to build a large salon. Like they just think they can't do it because, I'm in a small town. If you're in a small town, there's pros and cons to both. Big town, okay? Big town, big competition, big rents, big problems,
Yeah.
big, big is not better all the time. My first business that I exited was, it was a gym, and I went bigger, and I messed up.
Yeah.
I had a little 4,000 square foot facility, and it was profitable. It was doing good. And I thought, to do great, I need a bigger thing. And it all fell apart. It was more to sweep. It was more to maintain. Everything was more. So you can do $1 million in a small town. And usually small towns have what? Low rents.
Definitely.
Big towns got big rents.
Definitely lower rents, lower overhead. There's a lot of opportunity. I mean, here in the Woodlands, our rent is with, all of our utilities and whatnots is around 15 grand a month. Travel 10 minutes north to our other location, we're looking at about $22,000 a month. So like some of your jaws might have just dropped listening to that, but you have to also see like bigger rents. Guess what that means? We have to produce more sales. We have to do more services. We have to sell more retail, have more staff. Like it's just a bigger operation. But when you look at, like, if you're listening to this and your rent's like, $1,500 to $3,000 or something like that, like that is like, you have so much opportunity. Oh my gosh. Like I envy those that have rent that are like so low like that. It is wild the things that you guys can accomplish. And really it all comes down to the math, really, because $1 million salon is doing $83,000 a month. All right. And you might be asking like, well, how do I get to $83,000 a month? And, it really, if you keep breaking the number down and down and down, you'll start to see like, oh, wow, that's really like not that challenging. So if we do the math here, 83,333 a month divided by, let's say on average, 4.5 weeks, that's $18,518 weeks divided by, let's say you're open 6 days a week. That's a little over $3,000 days. So $3,000 days. Now, you may think, okay, I can't do $3,000 days. I've never done a $3,000 day. I would highly recommend that you, again, like let's shrink that number further. So if you've got a $3,086 day, which 6 days a week, the entire year will land you at $1 million salon. All you got to do is divide that by the number of chairs you have. And let's say you've got a smaller size salon. Let's say you've got like 4 or 5 chairs, okay? 5 chairs, that's $617 per chair per day. 617, let's say you're going to see 4 clients a day. That's an average ticket of $154. Like this is not rocket science. And I can tell you that it's us, it's the people that make it hard. And it really just comes down to math. And Drew loves kind of this saying, like the path of math, because that really is what leads you to the goal that you have. Now, maybe you're like, I'm not really like, I don't really want to have $1 million salon. Like that's a little too big for my britches. Like that's fine. But take all the numbers I just said and divide it in half. But even a $500,000 a year salon divided by 52 weeks, that's $9,615 weeks divided by 6 days open. That's $1,602 a day divided by on average 5 chairs. That's $320 per chair per day. That's like, depending on what kind of services you're doing, that could be like 1 service. That could be 2 services.
What would that say? Small town salon. What would that ticket maybe look like for them?
The thing is like no matter what, where I live, where you live, where so and so lives, like the product cost is going, like if I'm using Redken Shades EQ and you're using Redken Shades EQ, we're both buying it for the same price. So it really, like your product cost is going to be the same as mine. So, and really our industry kind of has this like ass backwards in my opinion, where you're just charging based on what it is and you're maybe not charging based on how long it takes and how much it costs you to actually do the service. So like Chick-fil-A, for example, like if you buy an 8-count chicken mini in your town, it's going to be the same price as if I buy it in my town. That is what it is. So like why on earth do we do it any differently in the salon world and with our services? Now, if your overhead is higher or my overhead is higher, then yeah, that would take into account, like that would, definitely contribute to maybe why I would charge a little more than you might. Or maybe my amenities are, more than yours or whatever. But like all you got to do when you're raising prices, and I can tell you, coach a lot of people, almost everyone that we ever meet, they haven't done a price increase in years, and they are charging based on what it is and not based on how long it takes and how much it costs them to actually do the service. So if you flip the goggles you've been looking in and you look at it from a different lens, you're going to start to see your business like a business, and we have kids. We have 4 kids. Like, it's sometimes hard to find fault in your own child, right? We have a lot of parents that listen to our podcast, and like almost your salon is going to be like one of your children. Like you're going to look at your salon like one of your children. You're not going to want to see faults in it. You're not going to want to see like, oh, that is like that. Like that's not being done correctly. I have my commission structure set up this way, but I kind of just guessed. I didn't even quite know like why I set it up that way. There's a lot of realizations that you'll have, especially if you're in a small town, or you're coming out of beauty school and you're opening something and you just don't have any type of business guidance or direction. Very similar to me. Like when I first started our salon, I was kind of looking over the left, looking over the right, and just kind of like, okay, well, that's the going rate for the haircuts around here. So like that should be what I would charge. Not exactly the full part of the story, It's important that you identify the end, right? The end, and keep the end in mind of what the goal is. What do you need to not just survive, but to thrive? What does your salon need to bring in to have a minimum of 20% profit margin? And then all of that then creates the actual pricing and the number of days we want to be open and how many chairs that we need to have and what the average ticket needs to be. So again, it's really very simple if you just start with the end in mind, reverse engineer it backwards, and then break it down as far as you can until it becomes something that you can sell and something that you can do. And those numbers are going to be very, very small, probably in the $50 to $150 range. And then that's the stuff that you focus on as a business owner of driving that. And then a year from now, you look back and you're like, man, we did it. We did $500,000. We did $750,000. We did $1 million, and that worked. So then now what we do the following year is we raise the bar a little bit and then we go after that, so it becomes kind of like a really fun game with yourself, really, when you're growing your business, and when that math finally makes sense for you, like you will understand it so much so that you will start to teach your stylist about it. And then that's how that salon really starts to take off.
Yeah. And set your goals to where they're not, like, don't set survival goals. Set goals that you're going to win, and be absolutely relentless in the process to do it, to learn, because there's a learning curve. If you're new to the game, if you're not doing $1 million or $2 million or $3 million, there's a learning curve, and be okay with learning and be okay with it being hard. Rachel posted a thing on her story from some people we follow. It was really good. Like being a business owner is difficult. It's hard. However, being an employee is also hard. I met with a dear friend of mine yesterday for lunch at this weird pho place that we've never been to. And I ordered this like soup, and it was like supposed to be a seafood soup. And it was like, I was like, oh, there's crab in there. It wasn't crab. It was like a sponge. I don't know what it was.
It was probably tofu.
It was, maybe that's what it was. Yeah,
Gross.
yeah. So
Not a fan.
He's basically worked for this company, and he's really good at what he does. He's super duper smart. If you're really, really analytically smart, you can kind of overanalyze things and end up not doing anything. So I was talking to him. I was like, we have to dumb this down. Like I can see his brain just cranking. And but what happened in that world was he was super successful, and he's been in this company for a long time, and now he's being kind of over leveraged, and there's nowhere for him to go. So the only really place for him to go is to stay right where you are. And if you look at the numbers, interest at post-COVID, usually interest rates are about 3 to 4%. It was been 8 to 9% each year. That's why everything's so friggin' expensive. So you got to grow. You got to make things. You're always going to be expanding your income and your money and your net worth, and understanding that. So even in that aspect, like, that's hard too. It's all hard. You got to pick your hard and be okay with it being hard, and learn, and be okay with not knowing what you don't know, and learn the things that you need to learn, and implement and learn from what you implement, and keep going. Keep making those moves towards your goal, because in the process and pursuit of doing this stuff and learning these things, you're going to evolve as a business owner, as a human, as an entrepreneur.
You must change. Like you must evolve, and you must, like, you know, as if you're expecting your business to grow without you growing, like, good luck, sis. Like, that's not going to work out. Make sure that you are, you know, whatever you need to do. And sometimes if you're in that small town, you know, mindset, and like you might have this cute little coffee shop down the street, and you've got this florist over here, and you got the barber shop down there, and then you've got all these, like, you've got people that work in chemical plants, or you've got, like, you know, just like industrial small town kind of farming area, right? That is, like, you're going to probably look around, and like you're going to feel like the odd one out sometimes. Especially if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, that means you're seeking more. It means you are hungry for more. You are trying to learn and evolve and develop yourself. And chances are, a lot of the types of things that you might hear on our podcast or other types of podcasts that you listen to, if you try to talk to somebody in your small town about it, you're going to be like, whew, like over their head, right? Like you're going to and literally see them glaze over, and they're going to be like, mm-hmm. And like you completely lost them, right? So, you know, that can be hard, you know, and we experience the same kind of interactions even in our town. And we, you know, we aren't in like a big, huge metropolitan city by any means, but we are in a very nice, modern, you know, suburb of a major city. And even here, like there's times where we might find ourselves in conversation with someone, and we're like, okay, like more so Drew will identify when I've lost someone, even if I don't identify that I lost them. Mm-hmm. He's like, they glaze over like 10. He's like, land the plane, Rach, land the plane.
Like they're gone.
They're gone. They're standing there, but they're gone. But, you know,
like they'll get real shifty, and they'll start looking around, and then she'll ramp up. I'm like, dude,
land the plane. Yeah. So
get out of there.
But it's hard because like I want to help them, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I see a gap, and I'm like, man, I can just feel it right there. But you know, you've got to surround yourself with people that are doing bigger things than you. You really do. And you always want to be a smaller fish in a big pond. Drew and I like to be the smallest fish in our pond. And, you know, we're constantly upgrading our ponds because, you know, as we grow and develop and learn, and we're part of masterminds, we go to events, we're like sponges, not that nasty sponge you ate in your faux bowl, but we're sponges, and we are constantly soaking up everything that we're learning and then taking action on what we're learning. And what happens when you do that, when you've taken action on what you've learned, is you now upgrade your pond, right? And we want to be a small fish in our pond because that means that there's a lot for us to learn, and there's a lot of wisdom in that pond with us that we can really look to for guidance. And what happens when you do that is you collapse time. So what would maybe take you 10 years or 20 or 30, who knows, you can accomplish in a fraction of the time if you can just be around people who are doing things bigger than you. So we have a mastermind coming up, and I would absolutely love to to let you guys know about an application that we are going to be accepting a very limited amount of non-current client spots to this mastermind. And we're going to have an application that we'll link here for you. Even if you're from a small town and maybe in your small town, you're like, you look around and you're like, maybe I don't belong. Like, it feels like I don't belong here. It feels like, I'm weird or I'm different, or like what I want to accomplish is like above and beyond anything that anybody else here is even interested in doing. I want you guys to fill out the application, because we can get you into a room filled with people who are just like you, who are doing even bigger things than you, who are 10 years down the road from maybe where you're at. And you can connect with them and you can learn from everybody. Yeah. And make a network of people that you can take home with you. Even if they don't live in the zip code with you in the small town, you can take them home with you and be able to be part of something, without having to uproot your whole family and feel like you have to move somewhere else to get a different result. Or what normally happens is you will sacrifice and minimize your dreams to be able to remain inside that same zip code and not uproot your family. And that's something that I see a lot is, you kind of will compromise and you're like, well, this is just where we're at. Like, I'm in a small town and I'm doing the most in my small town. And this is just kind of at the level that I can take it. And then that's it. Like, there's nothing else. There is always something else. There's always something else that you can achieve, some sort of other level that you can unlock, but you got to have it's like a different set of instructions and strategy to do that each time.
Yeah. The answer is, whatever you're looking to do, the answer is always yes. It's just how and who.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times the who.
Yeah. It's always, you're always trying to, this took us a long time to figure out, but anytime that we've elevated anything that we're doing, it's because of a who. It's because of a person, but we were also clear on what we needed from that person and what we were looking for. So it enabled us to ask the correct questions to find the who.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing for us. And off topic, I wanted to ask you something. Spur of the moment. I know you just got nervous.
I did, especially given what we were talking about before. We
live. No, I'm not going to talk about not that. God. Not that.
Josh, cut this out.
Cut it.
Cut him off. Turn his mic off.
Tell him something about yourself that, what's something interesting about yourself that most people don't know?
I do jujitsu occasionally. I'd like to do it more often, but
you like it.
I do like it. I'm really good at it, I think. I'm a white belt, but I'm pretty good at it. So yeah, jiu-jitsu, it's like, that is definitely very hard, very challenging. You might get into a chokehold by someone and you're like, oh my God, like there is absolutely
like a 15-year-old.
By 50. Oh yeah. I have a person in mind, actually. I will tell you guys, the very first time that I ever did jiu-jitsu, I literally got my ass kicked by, what was she, 12? 12-year-old girl. And she made my nose, or was it my nose bleed?
Yeah.
I was like,
pretty beat up. Well,
Jacqueline.
you're coming at her hot.
Yeah.
You're coming at her pretty.
But she's like a spider monkey. And I was like, because I was going to be real nice. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to like break her. She's like this little girl, and then she just like full send, just, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this, and yeah, I'm going to defend myself. But I was just like, is this legal? Like, am I allowed to like retaliate, But anyways, that was like my first intro. That I didn't headbutt her, but that was like my first intro into jiu-jitsu was that. And I was just like, okay. I didn't like not being good at it. So it was a challenge for me because like it's for me personally, I like challenges definitely, which is why we create businesses. 'Cause I have this weird, enjoyment of like challenge and overcoming challenges. But I was like, oh, wow, like I kind of suck at this. Like if I can't fend off this 12-year-old girl, like to the extent that I thought I could, like what would happen if I was in some sort of situation with somebody else that was much larger and bigger than me? And so that really that was like this big opportunity for me and learning lesson of like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I need to learn how to do this for my own good, like for my own safety, my own benefit. And also I'm thinking about my kids. I need to be able to protect my kids. But like the moral of the story is like, I tried something. Had I just like thrown in the towel and given up when Jacqueline kicked my ass in like 90 seconds at jujitsu, I would have never been able to like I would just go the rest of my life without being able to defend myself. So if you take that story and you plug it into your business as an example in your business, you can learn from that story and realize that, like, let's say you want to interact with your numbers, or let's say you're in a small town and you're like, okay, I want to raise my prices, but like everyone's gonna be like, who does she think she is if she raises her prices? You know, whatever the script is that you are reading to yourself, like, that is going to be something that you are going to have to, like, you're going to come head to head with the problem, and most times the problem is going to be you and the script that you're feeding yourself. So if you can rewrite the script and change the outlook and view it as an opportunity, as opposed to it being that you're at a disadvantage or victim mentality, really, and view it as like, this is an actual opportunity for me to change my small town. I can create a massive splash here. You know, like Rachel said, like if she did this same thing in her town, it wouldn't have as big of an impact, but in your town it would. You know, so start to view that as opportunity, because the competition, the number of salons in your town is going to be way less ratio than what I got going on here, or what other people in major cities like Chicago, Miami, LA, you know, New York City. I mean, geez, there's like on every corner there is a salon or a coffee shop or a Starbucks or whatever. It's like there's going to be way more competition in other major cities. In a small town, like, yeah, you're going to be faced with a challenge such as jujitsu, or learning how to defend yourself, or learning your numbers in your business to create profit. But by overcoming that, you can actually like find a love for that thing that you maybe are currently afraid of.
Yeah.
And I love jujitsu, and it's the same kind of relationship there.
Interesting. Two things. When you're looking to build a better salon and you're looking at the competition, you know, I was listening to, we're looking at potentially investing in like this coffee company, and I heard an interesting thing that they were discussing is, because their competition is Starbucks, of course. Starbucks, whether you like them or not, that's the goat of coffee, and goat means greatest of all time.
It took me a long
I didn't
time
know that
to realize that
acronym for a long time. Yeah, but so that's what it is. But you don't need to be 100% better than Starbucks to be better than Starbucks. You need to be 5 to 10% better, right? So what they're doing with their company is they're doing that. They've set their margins as such. They have made their product and their quality as such, their customer service as such. They're not trying to be 100% better than Starbucks. So you don't need to be 100% better than anyone. You just need to be 5 to 10% better. And how do we figure out how to be 5 to 10% better than the people around us? It's quite easy to do that, because most salons, I've talked to a lot of them, y'all, thousands of salon owners. So I've personally spoken to these people. It is very easy to be 5 to 10% better than 99% of the salons out there. You're going to see a polarization of salons that do really, really well, and you're going to see ones that struggle all the time because they don't want to step out and reach for help, and they don't want to learn what they don't know to improve their companies.
A lot of it is, a lot of the thing holding them back is ego. Everybody has ego. I have ego. You have ego. Everyone, you listening to this, have ego. And you're going to get, everyone's like rock bottom is at a different place, right? So you probably heard the phrase like, oh, well, they have to hit rock bottom for them to like realize, or for them to change, or they have to learn their lesson or whatever. It's like in life, everyone's rock bottom is at a different depth. So, you know, I think the wisest thing to do is, like, if you are realizing, okay, I am struggling, I don't know my numbers, my salon's not profitable, I can't stop doing hair, because if I stop doing hair, then my salon can't pay its bills. Therefore, I must keep doing hair. I must keep missing my kids' soccer games or football games, because, you know, if I don't work, then I'm going to create more financial strain on the business, which then creates financial strain for me personally. Like I've lived that like storyline, like for years. I lived that storyline in my life. Like there's always justification for why you have to do this. You have to do this because if you don't, this will happen. It's like all this like cause and effect. If you can just like mute all of that stuff and just see that the actual core problem, like figure out what that core problem is, instead of just like, which is kind of like the center of a flower, instead of just like picking petals, like that analogy that we learned a few months back, like that made so much sense to me because analogies is like how I remember things.
Which one was it?
Like a lot of people will like talk about, or like if you imagine a flower, a lot of people will just kind of talk around the flower and they don't quite get down to the root problem of identifying what it is. So in your salon, that can look like, you know, like maybe your petals on your flower is, I'm not profitable. I have to do hair all the time. I'm missing my kids, you know, this or that. We don't have enough money for payroll, like whatever it is. But if like you just get down to the center part of the flower, you'll realize that it's probably like just a lack of education. You know, because you have to have learning hours and then action hours on the back end in order for that to actually like solidify and make sense.
And what does the action hours look like physically in the day? I think there's a lot of detachment here. Like people learn, but they don't do. So our podcast, for example, they're short and sweet for a reason, because what we want you to be able to do is like, we know you're busy. We know that you don't have time to waste. Like you have other people relying on you, and you might be driving to the salon right now listening to this, and then you're going to get out of the car and you're going to go in, you're going to go be a hairstylist all day, and then you're going to go home and be a mom or a wife or both, or take your dogs out, whatever your life looks like. But like, you know, when you listen to these episodes, you know, or if let's say right now is not the ideal, like it's the forecast isn't good for you to like go sit for 15 minutes and like actually make a list of like your action steps, I would pause this and I would come back to it, or rewind the last few minutes and actually schedule a time to do that. So your learning hours are not really hours. Like it's a concept. You're learning right now, and then there needs to be a block of time right on the back end of the learning to take action. Mm-hmm. And that is everybody, bless you. Everybody has good intentions, but it's like the follow through is not always there, you know? And we want to do it all, but it's like, we're just not doing it at the right time. We're doing it at an inopportune time, such as like when we're at home, you know, we're all in the kitchen, we got dinner happening, kids are doing homework at the island, we're eating, trying to connect with our kids, and then Drew has a business idea and he wants to talk to me about it. I'm kind of like, can we talk about that after we get the kids to bed? You know, and it's not that I don't want to talk about it right now. I just can give him the best like sounding board if it's when we've eliminated, you know, all of these other things that we got to do first, that we've checked all these different things off the list first, then I'm like 1,000% able to actually learn whatever he's about to drop on me and then be able to give action behind it. You know what I mean? So it's just important that when you're learning something, just give yourself a little 15-20 minute block of time on the back end just to be able to at least identify your action steps. And that is going to really connect to that 5 to 10% better that Drew was talking about. It's going to create that increase of you getting better and better and better, because nobody gets 100% better in business and life and the relationship or anything overnight. If like I'm working out quite a bit right now. So we have a 1-year-old, and I'm not breastfeeding anymore, and we have a mastermind coming up. So I have a goal that I want to lose a certain amount of pounds before a mastermind. So if I just went to the gym the day before the mastermind, I'm not going to just like magically lose 15 pounds before the mastermind. I have to do it consistently as I can over the course of whatever that time frame is in order for me to get closer to that goal. Will I hit the goal? I hope so, but I'm certainly striving towards it, and I'm certainly making the time and effort and knowing that, okay, because again, I'm thinking about the end in mind. If I do this plus this plus this plus this over this course of this time, I will pretty likely end up where I want to be. And it's very much like that in business. But
for whatever reason, most people don't see it that clearly. They overcomplicate it, and they're plucking petals and picking petals, and it's just like, let's just get down to the center of the flower. What is the actual problem? What do you actually need to do? What is actually in the way of you creating the life and business that you want? And that's where we're going to leave you guys today. I want to encourage you to really ponder on that. And, that I think is going to be the biggest takeaway here from this episode is figuring out what the center of your flower actually is. So we'll see you guys on the next episode. Definitely check out the application in the description below. That way, if you are interested in coming to our mastermind that's happening here in the Woodlands, Texas, March 23rd through the 26th, that you can submit your application. If you are a current client, definitely reach out to your lead coach or message us individually, and we are happy to make sure that we can help you get there. But until then, we hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See ya.